Thank you. Oops, and with the wrong note, I think this concludes the portion of our playing portion of our video this evening. So tonight we're going live, and I have my better half here helping me out, and she's going to ask me some questions, and we're just going to kind of try this on out and kind of just get to know me a little bit better, hopefully get some engagement from all the multitudes of people that are checking in right now. But maybe some of our 907, at least one or two of our 907 subscribers will check on in.
Well, 908, you just subscribed to yourself.
Oh, did I just subscribe to myself? So 908. I don't know if that one counts or not.
Probably not.
Okay, let me turn the volume off on this thing so it doesn't interfere. So the purpose of today is just kind of explain the channel and answer some questions. So the questions I've had, we kind of went over the questions. I don't know exactly the answers that I'm going to give, kind of, sort of know. And she'll probably surprise me with a question, and when I won't know how that one goes. But
we may be surprised at as far as how long my voice lasts. So.
Yeah, unfortunately, she's a little under the weather, and her voice is kind of going. So. All right, so let's kick it off. What you got
All right,
for me?
okay. So let's start by explaining a little bit about the title of the video. So what's up, Doc? And who is this Doc to which we are referring in the video title?
Okay, so questions for the doc, and the doc is me, because sometimes that's what she calls me.
Yes.
Because I have a PhD, and it was painful to get, and I wouldn't have it without her, so she gets to call me Doc. So I do have a doctorate of philosophy, but the doctorate is actually, to be technical, it is a doctorate in educational psychology with a focus in sport and performance psychology. So bottom line is the type of psychology dealing with kind of two things specifically. The first, learning how our brains learn, whether it's a sport or guitar or a language or facts and figures or whatever, kind of that learning aspect. And then also the performance aspect. So once you have all this great knowledge, skills and abilities in your head, how can you perform at your best when it's on the line? So when there's stress, when the game's on the line, fourth quarter, that sort of thing, I have a doctorate in that. So there's a lot of skills and techniques and knowledge that I think is worth sharing here to the guitar community. So that's why we're calling me Doc.
All right. So importantly, the other key figure, not physically present yet, but all around you over there. Tell us about you and the guitar. Pretty serious relationship, certainly been around longer than even you and me. How long you two been together now?
So me and the guitar, we go way, way back. Let me move over more center screen here. So to go back to when this relationship first began, let's go back to 1987. So that's when I first started playing. Do the math, I was 14 when I first started playing, same age as Joe Perry, but he's a lot better than me.
And a lefty.
And a lefty. So I started in 1987, so it kind of, the love affair began, or first it was probably like more of a lust, because I didn't have a guitar yet. 1987, rewind a little bit to like 1984, when I became a Van Halen fan. You can see where this is going, and if you watch the channel, you kind of know who my favorite guitar player is.
Everybody knows.
Everybody knows.
Who your favorite guitar player
Van Halen. So, eventually a kid in the neighborhood got a guitar, and it was like, oh, that's cool, and I want that. And there was just something about it that reaches out to you. And if you're, a guitar player, you kind of know when that moment where it kind of grabs out to you. That's great English. It kind of grabs you. And I guess as says, I guess foot tapping isn't as good if you don't have shoes. That's interesting. Somebody just commented.
But I think that's the lust part, right? It's reaching out to you, it's
Yeah,
calling
reaching
you.
out to you. Guitar is
Yeah.
reaching out to you. And so 1987, and I wanted a guitar. And a rule in our house was we had to take 2 years of piano in order to get to the next musical instrument. And so I took 2 years of piano and suffered through 2 years of piano and
Suffered.
stopped playing in order originally to get to the saxophone, but I eventually went to I wanted the guitar. And so I went away to a little boot camp for Sea Cadets, and I came back and my brother had a guitar. And I like to give my parents a hard time about this because they bought him the guitar with no piano lessons.
He didn't take any
He
piano?
no piano lessons. He got an acoustic guitar. And I guess, like I said, I give my parents a hard time about that. But they've contributed towards my guitar habit in some ways. Might talk about that later. But so we got an acoustic guitar. He took a couple lessons, and he kind of fell off. But I picked it up, and I started to kind of learn. But
You
I wanted
picked up
an
his
electric.
guitar?
I picked up his guitar. Yeah,
Very Eddie-like.
very Eddie-like. And there was no drums involved, but I picked up his guitar. But I wanted an electric, so I started saving my money for an electric guitar, and eventually bought one, a Kramer Aerostar, which is like a Strat copy. I've talked about it in other videos. For what's my favorite guitar, that video I kind of talked about that guitar, and it started there, 1987, and
Why 87?
why 87? That was just when finally got the guitar.
Oh, okay, I
Finally
got
got
you.
it.
I didn't
That
know
was
if it
just-
was 5150. I thought that was 86.
That was 86 with
Okay.
5150. But yeah, that was just cemented the fact that Eddie was my favorite.
Okay. So when did you perform live? When was the first time you performed in front of like actual people?
Okay, so the first time I performed live, because that was my goal at the time, I wanted to be Eddie Van Halen. Well, not actually Eddie Van Halen, but like Eddie.
Like all the way with Valerie Bertinelli and
No,
everything.
no. I wanted to be the guitar player in a band, the only guitar player in a rock and roll band, and kind of do what Eddie did. Write songs, play, all that. So once you picked up the instrument, wanted to be in a band. And the first time I played live in front of people was for friends at a birthday party for one of our friends. And a couple of running mates from the cross-country team were in the band. Had a buddy who played the drums, and another, she sang, played keyboards. So we played a birthday party, and we played Tesla's Love Song and Radar Love. Not exactly easy. The Tesla song was a little bit easier, slower.
Yeah, because they have two guitar players.
Yeah, I only did one guitar player, and I did both
okay.
parts.
And what age is this? Is this middle
Since
school?
around
Okay.
17.
Oh,
high
okay.
school, 17, junior year in high school. But that was to 6 people in the room of a house, so not really live.
Okay.
And it wasn't until college that I played live in front of people that I didn't know. And it was actually at an open mic night in Gainesville, Florida, and a little bit of very deep cut history if you're a Tom Petty fan.
Woods are full of them.
And so he has a song called Dreamville. I think it's on Echo. I'm not sure the album. I think that's it, the album that it's on. But Dreamville, which is Gainesville, it's where he grew up. And there's a line in there, headed down to Lillian's music store to get some strings. Well, Lillian's, by the time I got there, was a bar that did open mic nights. So I steeled up the courage, and for an introvert like me, stealing up that courage it took a lot, but the drive to do that was so great that I did. I had an original, it was just like a 12-bar blues thing, got up on stage with the house band, bass player and drummer, and played. Scared out of my mind, but I did it. And it was the most frightening and exhilarating thing that I have ever done, and
Yeah.
got hooked. It's like, yes, this is what I would like to do. I want to do. And clearly my future, that's what's laid out in my path. No.
Right, that's what brings us here
That
today.
was brings us here today because that didn't happen. That was the goal. And I
Oh, so
didn't.
that was still the goal in
It's
high school. I mean, by the time you
by
got
the
to
time of
college.
college, it was still the goal. Even though I was in school, that was still the goal. And what I found out over my many years of playing that I didn't fall in love with the goal. I fell in love with the instrument. And I wouldn't. I mean, if that was the end state, when I finally realized over the course of my life that that wasn't going to happen, it's easy to put down the instrument, but you don't. And I haven't. So I still play and I still love the guitar and still love playing and still love learning. I'm still learning, which is,
Yeah.
that's the cool thing about it.
Yeah.
So that was the first time I played live, then had a band in college. And we started playing live my senior year of college, senior year and senior year and a half, because I just couldn't graduate in 4 years.
Because it was UF.
Because it was UF and, we're hunting on a national championship, but we're not going to talk football about UF now.
Please, no.
No. But sadly and unfortunately, I joined the Navy. I was in the Navy, and I had
Sadly
to go,
and unfortunately.
sadly and unfortunately for my rock and roll career, I had to go off and do the Navy thing where I learned to fly helicopters, and served about 10 years in the United States Navy as a naval aviator. But I always kept my hand and play my hands, I guess, playing the instrument. I'd find an open mic night no matter where I was, whether that was in Corpus Christi, Texas, or San Diego, California, or Jacksonville, Florida. I always would find an open mic night to play. And most of the time I was playing Jimmy Buffett covers, because that's in my vocal range to sing. I could do Jimmy Buffett.
That whole octave.
Yep, the whole octave, one octave or half octave.
So when did you start teaching? When did that first start?
So when I started teaching, I guess technically you could say I started teaching when my brother, he didn't pick up the guitar, but later he became the bass player in the band in undergrad. And so first started just kind of like teaching him, hey, I'm playing a G chord, here's where the G is on the bass neck, and then when the chord changes, that sort of thing. And was able to showed him tablature and how to read that. And then I knew, because he was my brother, I knew when to like press and when to back off and when to let him do his own thing. And he turned into a pretty darn good bass player. I like to think it's because I helped him out at the start, but he became a good bass player, and it was a pretty good tight band in college. He joined the Navy too, so the band had gone away until I came back in grad school, but that's another story. Where I did a band in grad school where my brother couldn't play bass, got another bass player who was really good musician, actually getting his doctorate in music. But I don't know, that band's name was Wishful Drinking. That's a pretty cool name for a band. We were country folk punk rock. We played it.
Oh, wow. So I'm curious. Well, I guess two things. In no particular order, do you teach more than just bass? What instruments do you teach?
So along the lines, bass guitar. So teaching, that was my first time I taught, but I taught others along the way. So I would teach friends guitar or friends' kids guitar. And then eventually I taught, a couple of years ago, I started teaching at Guitar Center. And the instruments that I taught there and have taught, guitar, electric guitar, acoustic guitar, bass guitar, mandolin, ukulele, and a little bit of banjo. So if it's got strings and you can pluck it or strum it, I can figure it out and teach it to a certain degree, not to the expert level, but I can get you started and get you along the path. So all those instruments were the ones that I have taught.
What ages have you taught?
So I've run the gamut of ages. So the youngest I have taught was 6 years old. Ukulele and guitar were those 6 years old.
The same kid?
Not the same kid.
Wow, I was going to say.
That kid, if that kid was able to play guitar and ukulele at 6 years old, is probably
Savant, man.
savant. That's a Mozart level type individual there.
What's the oldest?
The oldest that I have taught is, I think I had a gentleman, 65 years old, and he was brand spanking new picking up a guitar. So,
Do you have a certain group that you feel like you are best working with or training?
yes,
Okay.
guitar players. So, seriously,
Like for one-on-one training?
for one-on-ones, you know, I like when you're first starting out because I want people to fall in love with the instrument, and I think those first lessons and that first time you get the guitar is crucial because a lot of people stumble in those first couple of lessons, months, whatever, and then if it doesn't hook you and you don't have those little mini successes, then it a lot of people can put it down and then it sits in the corner or sits on the wall and collects dust, and I don't want that to happen. So I like getting people hooked on it, but I can go the gamut from you've never picked up the instrument till you've been playing for years and you've reached a stumbling block, or you just want a different perspective, or you've been playing a long time and you want to play live and you can't get over that performance anxiety, stage fright hump. I can work with you as well there. And that's where my degree comes in a lot, with that kind of aspect of it.
And you've touched on a number of things there that kind of help us pivot to the next thing I was going to ask you about. And I know you've received questions, kind of the topic of the channel. And well, first of all, how long has the channel been in existence? Let's start with that.
So we started, or we started the channel back in kind of when I started doing it in serious about it was in 2021. And I think we started out, had 3 subscribers. But over time,
Small beginnings.
putting out content, have gotten up to, we have a 907, 908 we mentioned. The magic number is 1,000, trying to get to 1,000. But so 2021, and posted a lot of it is just like chord, hey, here's how you play this chord. Or I'll do, little suggestions, little tips, hacks for playing, or demoing gear. I like to demo gear, and actually the most watched video is the video I did on updating the software for the Fender LT25 right here, and got a lot of questions about that because that can be a kind of a inhibit performance when you can't make your gear do what you want it to do. So gear demos, little hacks. I did some tone hunt, which was working through some modeling software and just trying to find and see what kind of tones I can coax out of the instrument and the software that sound good. Posted some songs, posted some performance enhancement videos for guitar players, that sort of thing.
And that brings me to what I think is a key sort of topic is what are you aiming to offer, and how do you see the content that you've already shared and also moving forward? Like, how do you envision contributing and being helpful relative to the content and things that are already out there?
So where I kind of fit in, I think, is I want you to love the instrument and want to be that, combining with my degree and the stuff I know about learning and getting over learning humps and little different styles, because everybody's different how they learn. So sometimes, it's not always do it this way or do this, figuring out, hey, what works best for you, or how you can approach working things out so that you don't run into those motivation issues and that frustration, which I've seen with so many of my students. In fact, all of them have run into that frustration where the brain don't make the finger work the way that you want them to work. And that relationship and how you can build that. I think that's where I fit in. I'm not necessarily going to teach you how to play a song or play complex scales or chords, but I can teach you how you can leverage some learning techniques to better learn, and then also once you've learned it, And then you run into, okay, I want to play live, and there's this hump for if you're an introvert and you're scared and there's stage fright, there's some things you can do to kind of get over that. And then, mitigate mistakes when you're playing. That's a big thing. You make a mistake, everybody makes mistakes. I made mistakes this morning when I was playing in church. I made mistakes, but you stay in that present moment, they're gone, keep going, keep on trucking. Kind of things that you can do to kind of maintain that while you're playing. Stay in that present moment. So that's where I think I fit in to kind of the greater YouTube guitar content realm.
I know I've heard you talk about the issue, and I think you just mentioned it again, and kind of, I think, talked about it or touched on it when talking about teaching your brother chords on the bass. This issue of learning preferences or learning styles. And I wondered if you could just talk about how that might play out just a little bit.
So, can I answer this? So everybody's different. Everybody's brain is wired differently. We all have different gifts, and we all approach the instrument from a different perspective. And to cookie cutter it and say this is the way to do it, this is the way.
This is how you play this riff.
This is how you play this riff, and this is how you hold the guitar. And to a degree, fundamentals are important, but also kind of understanding that each individual has their own distinct style, and they may not learn it that way. Kind of how to kind of reference it. Also, everybody's kind of different, motivated by different things. One student recently asked me, he's like, so what should I learn how to do first, chords or melody, one note scale type stuff? And I said, yes.
That sounds like you.
Yes, both. And the more important thing, I think, and this is why I didn't stick with piano, and I kind of go back to this, kind of my philosophy. Piano, when I learned piano, I learned hymns and classical music. That's what I learned. That's what was the books that we were purchased, and that's what I did at every single lesson. I wasn't playing Jump by Van Halen. I wasn't playing any Billy Joel songs. I wasn't playing the popular songs of the time that I liked. And I think that's key when you want fundamentals, but you should be trying to tackle a song that you want to play, that you like. And I try to do that with all my students. And sometimes some of my students bring me some pretty complex things. It's like, I want to learn how to play this. Like Eric Johnson's Cliffs of Dover, which is
Yeah.
realistic. What other songs would you might want to play? And then try and make it to a point where they, simplify to a point, or that's not, simplify is not the word I'm looking for. Is like condense down, make essential. All right, we'll get this. Maybe we'll just get the rhythm, one note rhythm, or the melody, so that that student can then hear, hey, I'm doing it. I'm making it sound, and they recognize it. That's the important thing. I recognize that I'm playing this song that I like, and that's those little wins of motivation are so essential, especially when you're first learning the instrument, because without those little wins, motivation can dry up pretty quick, because it's frustrating when you're learning how to play, especially doing something that your hands and brain are not used to doing.
Yes, I remember one student in particular was learning Back in Black, like right in the beginning. I was like, oh, how's that going?
Yeah.
Oh, he's doing pretty well. Really? Okay. So along with that, what do you think is the most common or the biggest challenge students or guitar players face?
So the biggest challenge,
In your experience or
in
opinion?
my experience, the
My
biggest,
own personal experience.
my own personal experience, John Mulaney. The biggest thing that I've seen without question in every single student that I have had is the fingers aren't doing what the brain. I can't make it sound like I want to, and their expectations is I want it to sound exactly the way I hear it, and my fingers aren't moving fast enough, or they're not getting to the right place on the fretboard, and they just get frustrated with that aspect of it. And that's kind of sitting down. There's where these individual differences come in too, because just kind of to explain it and give them a different perspective or different way. Because some people might like, okay, the way you're playing, you want to I'll give an example. Like you're playing a chord. I'm drawing a blank. It's like, okay, well, this is the perspective you want to take of what that chord should feel like. Like I think there was a Friends episode where Phoebe's explaining her chords, and it's not a G chord. It's like, this is the eagle claw, and this is this.
So
And kind of
shapes.
our perspective is like, okay, well, that's kind of how I will remember that. And I can't give an example because it's based on the person that I'm sitting across from and kind of getting what works and for them. So, but that, like perspective, that kind of thing is just kind of understanding where they're coming from, what their frustrations are, how they feel about it, and then being able to go, okay, we'll try this, and then think about it this way, and then the light bulb comes on, and you're like, oh yeah, that's exactly it, and then you can move on from there.
I remember you saying too that some different strategies you had tried with different people was slow down, or just keep strumming, and different
Yeah,
things that you could offer that would hopefully push the button for different people that would allow them to bust through that cognitive set that it's easy to fall into when you're having difficulty executing what your brain knows it wants your fingers to do.
exactly. And sometimes what I do, especially with the younger players, is just make noise with the instrument. Just make some noise, Just you're doing that. You're just making some noise, and something you're doing is generating, I say music, but generating noise, and it gives you those little. It's a tiny win, but it's like after you've done frustration and you're just trying to get that chord right. Hey, just make some noise and just make it loud, as long as it doesn't interrupt your neighbors or your parents or
Break
disrupt
too
the
many
right now.
strings.
Break too many strings. Just kind of make some noise, and sometimes you'll fall into something and discover something. It's like, hey, I didn't know I could do that, and it just happens. And also, if you're just making noise, it kind of reduces your stress level.
Yeah, it's a sensory thing too, so it's almost like a mindfulness thing to help bust through the mental aspect
Yep.
too.
Yeah.
And it avoids you putting it down and walking away from it.
Yep.
So it's a
Yeah.
very cool trick you can try. So just as we get close to winding down, two last things before I throw you my curveball here. As far as the channel goes, do you have a target? Is there a target audience that you think of that you're speaking to or aiming towards when you put forth content or as you look forward to putting out content?
Yes, guitar players.
All right then.
I think it can run the
Succinct.
gamut. Whether you've been playing for 10, 15 years or 10 months or 10 minutes, I think there's something, and I try and kind of address that here. Whether it's, hey, you think about, something as simple as like, I got a bunch of chord videos of just basic open chords, and I just kind of very quick videos that you can reference for somebody who's learning how to play. I got some other things is like, I think I have a practice, how you would break down practice thing, or just getting through gear demos. It's like, how do I set up a foot switch for the LT25 because I don't know how to do that, or how do I update it, or something like that. And you might have been around for a while, and that might be something that you need to do. And ask questions. I usually try and, if somebody asks questions, I try to answer that question either in the comments, and I've made videos based on questions that people have asked. I did one, somebody asked, can I plug an acoustic guitar into the Fender amp? And I said, yes, you can, but it's going to make a lot of feedback, and I did a demo video of that. Now you could do it, but hey, they asked a question, and I was like, well, it'd kind of be cool to do a video on that. And other people, I try to engage and ask questions. And if you ask questions, if you're not seeing this live, or you watch this and you want to ask a question about anything we've discussed here or something else that you like, comment down below, and we're going to do another one of these. Might not be live, but we'll answer some questions just so y'all, to engage with the guitarists that are out there. And to get back to your question, it's not just for you. You might have a goal because you want the instrument, you want to be a professional guitar player or musician. This channel is not just for those folks. It's for everybody. It's for folks like me I'm not going to be a professional. I'm not going to make money off of it, being in a band and touring the country. But the guitar, and that's why we call it a love affair or a relationship with it, because it can provide you with, an outlet for your mood, or bring you something to do to kind of calm down, or when you're feeling good, something to just kind of, almost like a meditative thing or a mindfulness exercise. Learning guitar and learning how to play guitar, the Guitar for Vets program, it helps those veterans like me, but veterans, learning the instrument, learning how to play guitar can help their mental health, which I think is pretty cool for an instrument of steel and wood and steel. So for anybody, you don't have to, you could never play live, but as long as you're playing in your room by yourself and you derive joy from it, hopefully, this channel can
Most of the time.
something. Yeah, most of the time when you're not frustrated. But I always say this to my students too. It's like, if you're not frustrated, you're not learning, and you're not getting better. Because if you play the same thing that's easy all of the time, you're not pushing yourself, and you're not pushing yourself to get better. So frustration is actually good. It's a good thing to feel, and that kind of that brain, that aspect of the brain when you're like really working hard to figure out a lick or a riff or something like that. That's actually your brain laying down those tracks and laying down that mental motor program, to geek out on that word. You're laying down, changing your brain structure to get it. If you don't have that frustration, it's not happening.
Thank you, Doc. All right, last two questions. The
Okay.
first involves you, and this will be with some difficulty. If you could please pry the Les Paul out of your hands there. We've talked about the longevity of your relationship with the guitar, but I don't know how often your longest standing guitar relationship has made an appearance. So I thought it only fair that you introduce the folks to the guitar you've had the longest.
So out of all of my guitars, this is the one that I have had the longest.
And tell them the circumstances under which you obtained or
Okay, so
the
this
Taylor
is the Taylor 610 CE. So the circumstances in which I got this guitar. So this was a reward. Yeah, I guess it would consider a reward, a motivation, extrinsic motivation, extrinsic reward, external for that extrinsic motivation.
Shout out to DC and Ryan.
Yep, self-determination theory. We'll geek out on you there with that. But so like I said, I was in the Navy, learned how to fly helicopters. When you get flight school is a pretty big deal. To make it through flight school and get your wings as a naval aviator, that's a big deal. Not many people will make it through. And so motivation to do that and get through was this guitar. So my
Which you had picked out how far in advance of getting wings?
Oh boy, probably a couple years. It was probably a couple of years, and I was playing Taylors, and I was like, man, I really, want to get one of those. And so I had picked it out, went in the catalog and got in the maple back and side, which I thought was pretty. But this was the reward. My parents helped me with it. I think I paid half. They paid half because these are pricey. But this is the one I've had the longest, and that would have been 1998 was when I got winged as a naval aviator. So
27 years.
27 years. Pretty good. And this thing, it's got some dings in it, but it sounds pretty good.
Enough Tom Petty for one night, please.
What was that, Tom Petty?
It sounded like the intro to Free Fallin', but it might have just been.
Oh, that's because it's a D chord.
Enough, Tom Petty. All right. Last two. Here goes. What guitar are you most lusting after right now today?
The guitar that I'm most lusting after right now, today, as we speak, will come as no surprise to those who know me.
The Eddie Van Halen.
Eddie Van Halen. So Eddie, when he left Kramer, he went to Ernie Ball. So the Ernie Ball Music Man Eddie Van Halen model, which they don't make anymore with his name on it. They make it the Axis, but it's a little bit different. But because I'm not much of a snob, I want the Eddie Van Halen one, and they're pricey.
Just to be clear, this is the one that he played in the 1995 Balance Tour?
1995 Balance
96?
Tour.
Okay, then.
And a lot of the videos. So right now,
Dreams,
that tour, he was playing that guitar.
Yes.
Can't Stop Loving You video, yes, that one. That is the one lusting after now. Now, that's the one I'm lusting after. The one that she is lusting after and wants me to get. And it's also a very nice guitar. It's a Gibson.
Yes.
Chet Atkins acoustic electric guitar. Joe Perry plays it in the Janie's Got a Gun. It's what he actually used to play Janie's Got a Gun, and you can see a couple live renditions of that where he's playing it. It's like
fantastic
jet black,
guitar.
White binding.
Looks like a classic Chanel No. 5 perfume atomizer bottle.
Yeah. So
I doubt anyone will get that reference.
Yeah. It's also, both of them, I watch Reverb and hope.
Prayer and fasting, my man.
Prayer and fasting. But that's the one right now.
All right. Hopefully folks will chime in and comment there.
Yes. So, no.
Targets of their desire.
Reminding. So, if you're watching this and you made it this far in the video, hey, please like and subscribe. And definitely, which one do you want you're lusting after? Because we all have that one that's like just out of reach. Or a lot of times you'll notice this, and this probably drives our significant others crazy. It's like we get one that we've been, I want that one, I want that one, I want that one. And then you get it.
And the goalpost moves.
And then the goalposts move, and you go, but I want that one next. And a lot of times, well, which one are you going to get rid of to get that one? So, there you have it. No.
All right, Doc.
All right, so thank you for your time. And as always, good to have you here. I believe this is a live video. Comment down below. If you got questions, comment down below. If you're nosing around, definitely check out some of those other videos that I've got that might be up your alley or you got questions about. But thank you again for being here, and thank you to those just over 900 folks that have already subscribed. Blessed to have y'all. So thank you very much. And with that being said, I think we're going to stop going live here and call it a night. And so, yeah, that's how I like to end it. Kind of like well, yeah.
Is it still on?
It is not still on. I have to do the old man thing.
Take this for me. It scares me.
Are you sure you want to stop streaming?